Stories all about hip-hop, called Some Very Unusual Hip-Hop. We're going to show some people and some things you might not know about, and some maybe you do. First thing you should know about hip-hop, it's not just rapping. Hip-hop is 4 elements, including beatboxing, the bonus element, which makes 5. So it's DJing, graffiti art, b-boying, and rapping. So now you know if you didn't. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce to you a photographer by the name of Martha Cooper, who captured some of the earliest and most important times of hip-hop first blowing up. Watch it.
My name is Martha Cooper. I'm a photographer. I, by chance, documented some of the earliest of emerging hip-hop. In the late 70s, I was a photographer for the New York Post. I was photographing in an area known as Alphabet City, Avenue A, B, C, and D. I often saw the same kids. And one boy, whose name I had thought of as Edwin, he said to me, "Why don't you take pictures of graffiti?" And I had actually never noticed graffiti, or hadn't really entered my consciousness, mostly because I couldn't read it. I didn't know what it meant. And he had this notebook with him and showed me that he was designing these pieces, his name, his nickname, which happened to be He3, and that he put them on walls. This fascinated me, the idea that graffiti was something that was designed before it was put up, that it wasn't vandalism. When I began to question him, he said, "Well, I know a king, and I can introduce you." And he introduced me to Gandhi, who was, in fact, the king of the line. And I just became obsessed with documenting graffiti. Kids today called Gandhi a style master, and he definitely was one of the great kings of graffiti. After I had been documenting Gandhi for a while, he did allow me to go into the yards with him, and then I understood how you could climb up to hit the top of the car. If you look at the train that he was painting that night, it says 1980 on the car, and he also put a little MC for me, Martha Cooper. I was doing all my documentation of graffiti as purely a personal project. I saw it as this youth art form that was sort of equally interesting to fine art, that it had its own sort of sets of aesthetics and rules and critics. I just became fascinated because I felt here we're in the art center of the world and we're ignoring this whole range of art. When I began documenting graffiti, and in fact the whole time I was documenting graffiti, I felt as if I was doing it in the spirit of historic preservation. The Post was not at all interested in publishing any positive stories about graffiti. One assignment that they sent me on was to go to Washington Heights to a subway station where supposedly there had been a riot. When I got up there, I found a bunch of little boys sitting, hanging their heads in the police station, which they would not let me take a photograph, but I did sneak one. One of the cops said, "Tell the lady what you were doing." And they told me that they had not been rioting, they had been dancing and spinning on their heads. I took a picture of the cops with what they had confiscated from the kids. And what they had confiscated, in addition to a gun and a knife, included a lot of markers and spray cans. So I immediately thought, "Oh, this is interesting. We've got kids who are dancing, who are also kids that are writing." And that immediately sparked my interest that there was a connection. The Village Voice published this story, front page, calling it physical graffiti. This is the first time that breakdancing ever appears in print. And as a result, New York being a media town, a lot of TV stations really glommed onto this as an idea. Suddenly, what had been an underground culture, something that I had been searching for with difficulty, turned into something that the media was following. I would say it took off from there. My friend Henry had heard about this music, which I had not heard about, called rapping. That's actually the very first time I ever saw rapping and DJing. I do remember thinking that the setup was just so incredibly ugly. That handmade wooden box with all those wires. And now when I look at it, I think, well, why wasn't I interested in the fact that he had handmade his equipment? That's Grand Wizard Theodore and Kevy Kev. Here we have Kool Moe Dee, and this is one of the few pictures I have of Run DMC. I think there was an air of excitement around the idea that there was something new that wasn't rock and roll, something that was happening in the city, but only among people who were already in that downtown scene. As soon as it became popular, I lost interest in documenting it. I use photography as a kind of a tool to go out and look at things. And I felt like, well, why do I need to take pictures? Like, it's well documented now. I like to take pictures of things that aren't well documented. In the 90s, I was contacted by a German publisher, and he wanted to do a hip-hop book with my old photos, and he went through the photos, and he was all excited. We published this book, Hip Hop Files, and then I went on a little tour with the book in Europe. It's amazing to me that I went from seeing hip-hop as non-existent to being a predominant world culture. It makes me feel really lucky. Yeah, it's very surprising and rewarding at the same time.
He can't even sit down and talk on the phone without writing on something. I'm just doodling on the paper. When you write and you don't doodle on the paper, I'm sorry, that's Star Wars. So if you want to see more of Dondi, the graffiti artist you saw on that, watch that movie and then you know what I'm talking about. When we come back, hip-hop theater, hip-hop theater, hip-hop. So this next story is from a man by the name of VC2 producer, John Carluccio. Actually, VC2 producer is not a part of his name. I don't know why I just said that, just the John Carluccio part. And it gives us a peek at hip-hop theater, where people are affected by certain issues in their community, and they take it to the stage, share their experiences with the audience in hip-hop style.
You all don't know who I am, do you? They never do. It's me, hip-hop. Hip-hop theater is loosely defined as theater that is by, for, and about the hip-hop generation.
Don't worry about that, cuz, baby, it ain't your time yet. Don't worry about right or wrong. Only about me, myself, and I. And if you gotta cut the next man, do it, just to get by.
You may see a play that is about rap or uses the aesthetics of rap or the aesthetics of b-boying or breakdancing or graffiti or DJing. But primarily, it's contemporary theater that deals with the issues of this generation. The bigger question than what is hip-hop theater is what is the hip-hop generation and what are its issues?
Today, this outrage comes to an end.
You're really talking about a generation that is the post-civil rights generation, the Reaganomics generation, the generation that lived through the crack epidemic and the gun epidemic and the AIDS epidemic and the prison industrial complex and acceleration of consumerism and gentrification. That's the hip-hop generation, you know, the polycultural generation in the United States and outside the United States. So you take all the issues of that generation, you got a lot of theater to make.
Have fun in each other's making fun before these three jealous sisters turn to the dark side.
In about 1999, everyone that was involved in kind of this hip-hop theater thing started to find out about each other. I think Danny was probably the most visible artist in the whole thing, you know? There were a lot of other artists like Camila Forbes and Hip Hop Theater Junction, like myself, that were doing it, but it was more local.
Throughout the country, there were other kids who were doing this work on the stage. And when we created the festival, we created some glue. And that began something that we couldn't even see what it was gonna really generate. We just knew, let's do this thing. And let's invite the people we either know or know of and see what happens.
Every year of the festival so far has been a highlight to me. We started off with Sarah Jones, who has since blown up. She's now on Broadway doing her thing. Liza Colon-Zayas, also, she's blown up doing her thing.
You're performing here, but you gotta remember, not just here, it's also here, here, over there, boom, boom, you know what I mean? You guys work this pretty well. It's not just about going up there and doing a poem or writing a piece in a month and then doing the show. And I feel like a lot of times, some artists, they're really talented, but they don't put the work in that needs to kind of carve a piece. But part of it is because they maybe don't know that they don't even know that exists, what that is.
We look at it as a game in the hip-hop industry, but we don't look at it as art, that it should be able to fail and work through and experiment and develop.
It is deep as joy. It is about a woman's battle with anorexia and the loss of her boyfriend, who was brutally slain by an officer of the law. And it's about them trying to get the officer indicted and her battling with her own demons.
Even if the DA does indict, that's but the first blow of the fight. They'll give us just enough justice to quiet the throne, but not enough honor to right the wrongs.
This hip-hop theater is bringing in a whole different other audience. Younger, who can relate to this, you know what I'm saying? A lot of people think they go to the theater, it's gonna be boring. They see us up there and it's like, yeah, it's like, I know that language, I know those people.
Yes, I know. I have a big ass. It's my trademark, my Latin stamp.
I think what's really important about the Hip Hop Theater Festival is the kind of diversity of artists and form that they've had in the festival. I think really sort of pushes ideas about how artists are invested in hip-hop and influenced by hip-hop, and how socially invested all of these artists are. I mean, everybody here is making work that's by and for their communities.
The people that do this kind of work, day in and day out, from a grassroots perspective, care about the culture and care about its direction and care about young people.
There's two things that I hope to see. Hip-hop in general will begin to take itself more seriously as art, not just as commerce. The other thing that I hope to achieve through this, that the theaters in this country begin to present more work that is relevant to the hip-hop generation. We deserve to have our stories told.
It's very elitist. There's this idea about, you know, what belongs on, you know, stages in America. The money that gets poured into the arts in America gets poured into the arts because it deserves to be championed. It's the canon. It deserves to be preserved. That conversation isn't happening with hip-hop. So I feel like we're just beginning to scratch the surface of what that really means. And I'm resigned to the fact that this is a lifetime's worth of work.
There are people out there who are saying that I've been influencing him and all these other wayward youth, filling their minds with the idea that it's okay to shoot and kill police, and the concept of gangster as hero and bling bling. I never said bling bling, no.
Now, what would you, Jive Turkey, say if I told you I had a video to show you about a hip-hop chess organization? Dominique, stop asking so many questions and just show the damn video. Hey, look, man, you don't gotta scream, okay? You know what, man? I don't even think I want to show you the video no more.
The Hip Hop Chess Federation was founded by Disa Banjoko, myself, and Leo Liberon. Basically what we did is we wanted to find a way to use hip-hop as an educational tool, and what we wanted to do was enhance the good. A lot of times people, they gather around the bad things. When someone gets shot, they come together. When people are upset about the school system, we come together. But no one wants to teach the kids algebra. No one wants to sit down and read to the kids. So we wanted to find a good reason for people to come together.
Keeps your king safe and controls the position.
Yeah, the good thing about the Hip Hop Chess Federation is like it adds like another element to hip hop as well. You know, like you have the DJing, the breakdancing, the graph, and the rap, and now this is like the next logical evolution of hip hop.
Hip-hop and chess has a lot in common. A lot of people think that chess is a nerd game or whatever, but chess is a game of strategy. It's a battle. Hip-hop is about battling.
I'm really looking forward to meeting some of these chess prodigies that are just going to embarrass grown men out here. You know, like, those are the superstars today. You know, we rhyme or we do whatever we do, but we're bringing in some young specialists to come in here and showcase how it's done. So that's who I'm looking forward to seeing, some of these child prodigies.
My name's Emma Bentley. I'm 100 and 200 miles above. I'm the world champion of girls under 11 and the national under 10 champion and many more. Bishops on diagonals and rough salt tiles, moving along the check squares in lightning time, because this is a bullet mare, so get off the street and come play chess to the hip-hop beat.
People, when they think of rappers, I mean, a lot of different images come up, right? Like you might think of somebody in a gold chain, gold teeth, hell praise, right? And that's not bad, but there's more to it.
My boy Adisa, he called me up and he was like, come on down and be a part of this. The Riz is gonna be here, the Chiz is gonna be here. And basically, I'm just here just trying to support and just be a part of something that's positive, you know what I mean? It's something that's really gonna lead to something better.
A lot of children don't have patience nowadays. I mean, kids is off the hook nowadays, so it kind of gives them a sense of, you know, being able to sit down and be observant. You know, chess is about being ahead, one step ahead, always thinking ahead, you know, and that's what life is about.
Game of chess is like a sword fight. You must think first before you move. I mean, so whether it's sword play, which is martial art, whether it's hip-hop, which is battle lyrically, or whether it's on the 64 squares, channeled through somebody's mind intellectually, that's all part of the same culture. That's the reason why I'm here supporting this, I mean.
Life is a chess game. That's why I say everything that you do is chess related when it comes to making the right maneuvers and making the right things happen for yourself.
We're doing it, but it's all in honor of the youth. And so, you know, I'm humbled by the fact that so many young people showed up.
Man, no wonder why nobody showed up to my hip-hop Pictionary tournament. Everybody was down there. Man, I invited Kool Keith, Aesop Rock, Jean Grey, Black Sheep, Dilated Peoples. None of them returned my phone calls. Should have just called Percy P. He would at least call me back. So, if you want to be a B-girl, you should watch what's coming up after this break. Oh, no pun intended, break. Any crayons did you eat, little boy? Hey everybody, we're back. So I guess you want to be a B-girl, or at least find out about B-girls. Fine. VC2 producer Gabriel Cheifetz now takes us to an event called B-Girl B, a celebration of women in hip-hop, and it brings together some of the best female artists from around the world. So watch this and take your first baby steps, like Bill Murray.
What's going on? I'm Cheifetz. We're here in Southside Minneapolis with B-Girl B, which is a celebration of women in hip-hop. And today we're going to see aerosol artists, we're going to see graffiti artists, we're going to see taggers on the walls, we're going to see break dancers, we're going to see spoken word artists, and guess what? They're all women. But we're going to go find out more because I've never seen nothing like this. So we're going to go inside, holler at your boy.
Trying to be rebel, trying to be a little young girl, hanging out with the boys, tagging up. But then like we start with characters, and it gets more emotional. We put all like feelings into it.
Hey, I'm wondering, like, you know what I'm saying? You guys got enough paint to like paint a smiley face on my shirt?
I mean,
smiley
I can
face?
do it. I mean, what is your name? The whole thing's about your name.
My name?
I could like recruit
My name is Shakademic.
How's it coming?
This is my piece right here. It's like the naked chick riding a syringe full of the American flag, injecting it into the world. And this is what's coming out is like the guns and the death and the drugs.
Yeah! Look at that right there, ladies and gentlemen. Yellow, black, and blue. Bam! All right. This women in hip-hop thing, are you involved with that here?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
Well, that phrase was coined in the early 80s by the mass media and by corporations in order to
sell products and to sell, you know, ideas and a subculture, how to bring it above ground and market it and sell it to young people. We don't consider ourselves hip-hop because graffiti has its own identity, its own culture. It predated like hip-hop by, you know, 10, 15 years.
The legend right here. 26 years, get out of here. You don't even look that old.
Yeah.
It's important to have an event for women because it like celebrates not like just women in general, like creating, organizing, developing, pushing the envelope of new ideas.
Hip-hop is generally a male-dominated scene globally. Like in South Africa, there's just basically hardly any women in graffiti or hip-hop in general.
But it's like hip-hop. We need to recognize like women are not just videos, you know, booty shaking stuff.
Because, you know, it's about developing your skills. It's not about like saying I'm a girl and soaking the props, you know. It's about like being good at what you do.
If you're feeling like hip-hop is going bad, turn off the TV and come here for a second. Check it out. Ven y revisa. Estamos activados.
Hey, got something to say about that? Maybe you know what movie I'm talking about where Bill Murray takes baby steps. Write to feedback@current.com and let me know what it is or what you want to say to me. Time for Google Current and then a machine that helps you make dope hip-hop beats.
It's all so bright you can reach up and kiss one. Bright waves roll easy and still, majestic and deep. Dream what you want, but you dare not sleep.
I like to eat lots of chocolate in my sleep. Hey, we're back for the very unusual hip-hop show. The next story we're going to see is from VC2 producer Gabe, and it's about a very infamous tool in the hip-hop community, the beat machine. To be more specific, the MPC.
What do a classical guitar student, an indie hip-hop producer, and a street musician have in common? They all use an instrument called an MPC to make music. The MPC, which stands for Music Production Center, is a standard of hip-hop and sample-based music.
This is the MPC, if you didn't know. This is the original cream-colored MPC from 1999, baby.
In 1979, an engineer and guitarist by the name of Roger Lynn invented the sample drum machine, mainly because he couldn't play drums. Lynn's early drum machines became popular with artists like Blue Water, Don Henley, and Prince, just to name a few. Based on the popularity of his drum machines, the equipment manufacturer AKAI partnered with Lynn in 1988 to build the first music production center, the MPC 60.
That's pretty much the backbone of vintage hip-hop. Hip-hop in general, the sample-based music, came from these machines. Here we go. DJ Damu the Fudgemunk, one half of the group Wide Society. I use the MPC, this is my instrument right here. My turntables and my MPC, I'm pretty much a one-man band with two hands, you know.
I study classical guitar, I'm playing a hip-hop band. We take songs and kind of dismantle them, fill in certain parts with live instruments, and then what we can't recreate, we use the MPC for. The MPC is like the most economical and affordable way to put together multi-track compositions, you know, in the world of hip-hop and trip-hop.
My name is K-Murdock, AKA K-Murdock. I play in a tandem known as Panacea, where I do all the production.
I like to say I make progressive hip-hop music. Like my friends still to this day call what I do the box that makes sounds. So it's a drum machine sampler and sequencer all in one. You put sound into it, you manipulate it, and you can spit it back out. The first time I even recall associating somebody with that equipment was DJ Premier from the legendary Gang Starr.
You know, I could drop names: Pete Rock,
The Alchemist,
Premier, Tom and D,
the late great J Dilla, JD.
The list goes on, but any producer that did sample-based production, they used a piece of machinery like this.
How about a demonstration?
We're gonna sample this right here, this piano strat. Alright, now it's in the machine. I can sample anything and then pitch it up. I have a feature here where I can play this back. The machine processes it at different pitches, different octaves.
After building a library of sample sounds, producers tap out the pads and sequence their songs, building it layer by layer.
See, that's what makes this an instrument. You put your own sounds in there, tapping out the pads.
It used to be that you'd see MPCs primarily in the studio. Now bands like Linkin Park are using them on stage. It's primarily performance for me. I can accompany myself. The idea of sampling and incorporating that into my repertoire came about because I saw Avi Bortnick. He was using samples and the band was playing with them, and I saw the drummer with headphones on. To see him using samples and stuff like that, that was pretty inspiring to me.
If you want to make beats, then this is a machine to have. If you have that musical mind, you're going to get it accomplished.
I don't know if it'll be a household name like the guitar or anything like that, but I don't think that changes the fact that it is an instrument.
I know on stage it makes me look cool because I feel cool because at least I feel like I'm doing something. Whereas if I had a laptop and I'm just using a mouse and clicking on stuff, I just don't think that's as cool, you know?
This machine stretches way beyond hip-hop. I could sample orchestral instruments and make a symphony without even leaving my basement.
It was like the best $1,300 I ever spent in my life. I don't really got no complaints with that machine. It's been through a gang of tours, it's been tossed around. I dropped it down halfway down some stairs, and it still works.
I love this machine.
I don't know what else to say. It is what it is right there.
I like fat beats.
We're back. Now, if the same old hymns aren't really doing it for you at church, then maybe some hip-hop will help you. VC2 producer William T. Beebe now shows us how some people are combining the two and getting a fresh look at religion.
Kurtis Walker is my real name, the name I was born with. My mom's gave me that. But Kurtis Blow is a PKA, and that's professionally known as my ministry. I like to be known as Minister Kurtis Walker. I'm going back to my God-given birth name, Mr. Walker. Kurtis, no more Blow. Hip-hop first started out, I really truly believe in my heart that it was created by God. It started out as something really wholesome, something that was very spiritual. It was a way out for a lot of brothers to get out of the ghetto, to forget about the oppression that we were living in. It was our voice, the voice of the people, self-expression. But that somewhat changed over the years, you know. Guys got caught up with the paper chase, as they call it. The things I learned out in the world, I bring them to the church so that the church can flourish. And this is the experience that I have, and this is my calling that I want to give and teach all of the young kids out there, you know, about production in the studio, how to lace the tracks, how to layer those tracks, how to make, you know, the hi-hat sound clean and have it up top here while your kick drum is hovering up under the bottom when that bass sound is sounding so good that it hits you in the heart, so you can get across that word of God. And it can compete with regular secular music.
Dudes got shells and glocks, but I don't spit off heat. Cause all I gotta do is yell Shabbat. Listen, it's Christ Jesus, I ain't worshiping the Sabbath.
My #1 protege right here. That's right. He is Noah, and when he gets that call and he starts making that boat, I'm gonna be right there hammering those nails in that boat along with them.
Yes, sir. Preaching Christ, yo, what's important. He got a jump shot, and he do his numbers like M. Jordan. Giving Bible, so I'm important. And if the world catch the flu, then believe that it's him coughing. Jesus Christ, you know we unseen. It's not what you eat, but it's what comes out that's unclean.
You have to speak in the language, because like Paul says, I became a Greek to the Greek, a Jew to the Jew, or that the gospel may be preached and that I find common ground. So in other words, you got to relate. So I use this hip-hop, Christian hip-hop, as a tool to draw me to the younger generation and to win souls.
No more ice in cribs, giving Christ to your lifeless kids, and the devil coming next out. Because when it's dark and hell is hot, you know he dark man X'd out.
This church impacted my life first to grow spiritually and grow closer to God. Second, this church has offered me money to go to college. Some of the members in this church have put up money for me to get through school, and I feel like anything I need from this church, as long as it's positive, they will provide it.
Churches are designed to impact the community and to liberate the community. And when I say liberate them, I mean give them freedom from sin, what they're going through. I mean, we all are sinners, but it just seems like when you reach out into the community and you touch the people and God through you touches the people, that's what it's all about. You're not really a church unless you impact the community. So I've seen it happen. I've seen kids give their lives to Christ. I've seen many altar calls where we had 25, 30 kids come up here and just walk up to the altar and give their lives to Christ. And it's amazing. It's incredible to see that happen. That's the most important part of the hip-hop church, is that altar call. And seeing how God can just come in and touch lives and transform them. And it's amazing. I love it.
Man, I remember when I was little, I went to a party at Kurtis Blow's house. Me and his kids played Nintendo all day long. They had a lot of Nintendo games, Excite Bike, Super Mario. All right, I won't get into that right now. At one point, Ice-T and Ice Cube were hanging around the barbecue pit. That was kind of weird. All right. Hey, when we come back, some poetry. Thumbs up. The next guy you're about to see is from the Bronx, and he's a poet. The South Bronx. And VC Square producer Rotimi Rainwate introduces us to him and shows him reciting poems in places you wouldn't expect him to be reciting poems.
What's up? My name is I'll Be Back. I'm from the South Bronx, the South Boogie. Come from a big family out there, and you know, if you have a big family, you know, you generally have to get your voice to be heard. In order to be heard, you have to be entertaining. You have to say something. So that's basically how I became a poet. I'm from New York, and growing up in the Bronx, we are stereotyped in what we should be already, either a drug dealer or, you know, a baby father. So I wrote this poem called Super Negro, and the poem is basically, you know, a kid's cry or a kid's response to the judgments of the world and what they expect me to be. So my superpower is the sort of your expectations. And I kind of want to take it to a place where there's huge expectations, which is like Beverly Hills or Rodeo Drive.
Really quick. Without mutation, without cape or cave, I've become your super Negro. My skin can somehow allow me to see more cells than sand sea seashells. I can have the power to inject superhuman strength inside 2 generations ago. As she grips her purse tighter than she's ever gripped it before, I know that was my doing.
Some of my influences in the Bronx was the fact that everybody sort of judged me and what I should be, stereotyped me. You know what I mean? Being half black, half Puerto Rican, he's either packing a knife or, you know, eating a ham sandwich somewhere. But everybody put me in this box, so it was
it was a beautiful thing when I found poetry, because I was able to tell people the real me on stage. All minds and all hope and all eyes is on me in a room where a wallet is stolen. I can make you pick me for any sport. Before you found out that I'm just a poet with 7 sisters. However, since you want me to play, how can I own myself? I'm so mature that my face can rearrange in ways, change in days, that cops every day need to stop me and see my ID just to make sure I am who I say I am. Poetry, it shaped me into something that was unshapable. It was just undeniable. You know what I mean? There's no limits. Usually my majestic self won't concern with rumors. However, ladies, it's true. I am not a Republican. I am further than rhythm. I am the breath of beat. My step in heart. My step in heart. My step in heart can make my farts a symbol. Don't try to band the band in me. And don't get surprised of the chant and dance in me, because this is me. Cool to be a driver, but not your son-in-law, me. I could get you dead presidents as long as I never want to be one, me. Hang on rims, hang on trees, hang up on bill collectors, me. Chickens in fear bow when they see me. Surveillance cameras always make it their point to see me. Justin Timberlake still could never be me. And despite all that's going on around me, I just want arms to come around me and hold me. I want you to hold me despite what you think I am. Peace.
All right, we'll be back in a minute with a hip-hop dance group making the world a better place right after this. Doing something you enjoy and helping other people out at the same time. That's what this next story is about. Watch how a group of dancers in LA, that's where I'm at, are getting the message out about HIV and AIDS. This is Culture Shock.
Culture Shock LA benefit event that promotes HIV and AIDS awareness in one amazing show. What is Culture Shock? Founded in 1993, this is a diverse group of dancers rooted in hip-hop, break, and locking who have taken their message out to the masses. What made you guys get involved tonight?
A bunch of kids from different random places. Some of us have been dancing forever, some of us barely started. It's just, you know, all different walks of life, and I think that's what attracted me personally to it, is just the actual fact that it is actually a culture shock. It's an array of people, so.
Knowing someone close to me that actually I just found out recently has HIV, it makes it all the more meaningful and special, and we're not just performing for the audience or performing for something, we're performing for ourselves and for a bigger cause.
Inspired by true stories of HIV and AIDS patients, the LA crew worked to highlight the struggles and social stigmas these patients have endured while showcasing hope through hip-hop. How has the Color of We Benefit show affected you?
HIV is still an epidemic. There is no cure, and people are still dying, especially all around the world. Africa, all throughout East Asia. If we can use hip-hop to kind of help people understand that and open their eyes a little bit, if even 10 people walk out of here feeling that, I feel like we've been a tremendous success. Above and beyond any performance, it's all about touching people and making them walk out of here different.
What would you say if I told you that it's possible to play a woodwind instrument and beatbox at the same time?
Dominique, I can't do that. I don't have any arms. And I can't beatbox because I'm just a seahorse. I can't even breathe on dry land. But I do read a lot of Stephen King novels.
Well, don't worry, because VC Square producer Rosie Kuhn shows us someone who's not a seahorse beatboxing with a flute.
Thank you, Dominique.
So about 10 years I've been playing. I was doing building work and I sent myself off to do some, I've got classical lessons. Like, and I got them and I sort of did my labouring work and then went and did my classical lessons after that. There's a kid at school called Aswad Saunders. It was me and Aswad, and just used to beatbox in maths. Just trying to do like riffs, try and make my riff sound better, make the flute sound better. But then, and I started hearing, sometimes I did notes and they didn't sound like they came from here. They sounded like they came from the east. The flute is just another mode, and like for me as a person, I've always felt like hip hop in my, you know, all the music I listen to, jazz, hip hop, and all the rest of it, and it's just there, and I think you just express that through the flute. It's funny though when you start seeing like how you can make, how people will give you money for blowing through a tube well, and when you dig a hole and you do all these actual meaningful, useful things, you don't get any money and no one gives you any thanks. And it's funny how like British workmen and really slagged off generally by people who don't do any physical work. Played with this guy called Natu, who was a Nagara player. That was in Rajasthan. Played with like these drummers in down in Bombay. I played with Prodigy on Radio 1 and did like a sort of intro for them at Brixton. Also Fundamental, Ed Rush and Optical, Knit and Sawney, and all those sort of heads.
All right, everybody, and that's the end of this show. I'm sorry we gotta go. Yep. Let me get a moment. Write to us, feedback@current.com, and tell us what you thought of the show. I'm Dominique Purdy, and until next time, do this dance. Or not.